Professor Brain Brown's research shows that vulnerability fosters good emotional and mental health. It is a sign of courage. We become more resilient and brave when we embrace who we truly are and what we are feeling. The Vulnerable Scientist podcast is a space for scientists to tell their honest and authentic stories. I am your host, Sarah Nyakeri, who happens to be a scientist, informal science communicator, and I help scientists create personal websites. If you want to support this show, go to www.patreon.com/thevulnerable-scientist. You can also follow this podcast on all social media platforms at TV Scientist Pod. Hi everyone, welcome to the Vulnerable Scientist podcast. This is your host, Sarah Nyakeri, and today I have Alex with me. Kindly introduce yourself.
Hello, Sarah. Thank you for having me on this wonderful podcast. So, my name is Alex Kirui Kipchirchir, and well, where should I start? Let me start by saying I'm a recent graduate. Like I graduated a month ago. From Louisiana State University with a PhD in chemistry. And I did my bachelor's in Kenya, Technical University of Kenya, which I'm sure you much well relate with.
Yeah, that's where I studied.
And I'm from Nakuru County. A place called Solai. Yeah. So when people used to ask me where I'm from, I told them I'm from Solai. Most people didn't know until the dam tragedy happened a few years ago. So yeah, I think it made it famous in a bad way though. But yeah, I'm from that place called Solai. It's northern part of Nakuru.
Oh, okay.
Bordering Baringo and Laikipia counties, yeah.
That's where you're brought up?
Yeah, that's where I was born, brought up, went to school before my journey to Nairobi started.
Okay, so where did you study? In Solai?
Oh, I went to a public primary school called Set Kobor. It's in Solai. Through class 8, and then I went to a secondary school in Nakuru town. It's called Loreto Nakuru School. Usually it's when I try to explain to people about the school, they find it. So I usually tell people, so when someone asks me, which high school did you go to? I ask them, do you know Nakuru High School? Yes. Is that where you went to school? No. Opposite. So because our school is just opposite Nakuru High School. Yeah, it's opposite Nakuru High School next to Kunste Hotel. So that is the easiest description I could give people because it was such a small school.
It wasn't well known.
It wasn't well known. I think less than 300 students by that time I was there.
Were you called there?
Yeah. No, I wasn't called there. So what happened is I performed well in my KCPE. That was in the year 2005. I was actually the top of my class by that time. I got 361 marks, which from a public primary school, that was high. Good. Actually, until then, no one had gotten 361 marks. So wow. You can imagine, So since the 5 subjects started, I was the first person by then to get such high marks. So I was expecting to get a good high school. But unfortunately, I only got a letter from one school. It's a boarding day school in Olenguruoni. I had never heard of it before. So I kept waiting because I thought, okay, maybe they are saving the best for, for the last. So I waited. People got admitted, and then, it was February. I didn't have any other letters. So the only other option was to go to a private school. So I remember...
Because the day school was far away, right?
No, the day school was there, but they were not
The quality of
well
the
performing.
education. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the quality, yeah. So I remember my father had a friend of his. He was a catechist in the nearby Catholic church.
Sorry.
So we talked to him, and he said...
Just a minute.
Sorry?
Kindly tell me when you can hear noise from my side.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you. So your father was a catechist?
No, my father was not a catechist. He
Sorry?
had a friend who was a catechist.
Or your father had a friend who was a catechist?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he talked to him, and he said, okay, could you talk to, one of the priests around that, they know about the Catholic schools around Nakuru, and see if we can get admission for my son.
Mm-hmm.
So he talked to a priest. So we went to a place, it's the headquarters of the parish was in a place called Kabazi. It's near Subukia. So we went there. We found the priest. It happened that the priest was one of the board members of Rongai Boys. Rongai Boys was performing well at that time, so I wanted to go to Rongai Boys, but the admission was full because remember we were already late. So, but he told us there is one school in Nakuru. I can write you a letter, take it to the principal, and see if you can get a position. So he wrote us a letter to go to Loreto Nakuru school. So I went there, hoping to talk to the principal with that letter. And then it happened that coincidentally, it is the same day that we went there, they were doing interviews. So I went there, wasn't prepared for the interview, but, I did the interview. I remember, I think I was position 8 out of almost 70 students.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got admission, and that is how I ended up in Loreto Nakuru school.
Okay.
Yeah, but as any other student is, especially in their 4 months, they are never happy with their selection. They always want to transfer, but I never transferred. I ended up finishing there.
Yeah, but you always wanted to transfer yourself.
I always wanted to transfer because I thought the quality of education in that school was not very good. But I never transferred. I just, did my best.
Oh, okay. So, that's weird. So how did you feel when your friends, you're the best performing student, then your friends have gone to, schools that they're in school and you're still at home? It's February. You're still at home.
I always thought my letter was still coming. I never felt bad because they were being called to good schools, and I thought, okay, maybe mine is still on the way. Until when I realized it's already too late and I didn't get admission to any other school. So
at that point, when you realized that it's not coming, how was that like?
It was, you feel really bad. It's the same feeling as like being betrayed. Having performed well, especially in a public primary school. You're usually told that if you get like 350 marks in a public primary school, is almost equivalent to someone getting a 400 marks in a private school
or more.
But that was not the case for me. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that was your first low, actually.
Yeah, that was my first low, especially for in my Form 1. I always felt like I would try another school, but my father is never a fan of transferring schools. Yeah, so once you start, you have to finish it there, unless something serious happens to you.
So how did you perform after that? I'm just wondering. How did you perform after all that? Like, your head is not fully there, or when did you settle? I
started very slow. I think first it was kind of intimidation. When when we did the interview, they usually they listed the name of the students and the primary schools they came from. And I could see the names of very good primary schools in Nakuru, like Naivasha Boys, Michinda Primary School, very good schools. And people like, KCPE marks, you get someone with 400 marks and you feel like, okay, so it's going to be tough. So, but I have to put in my my best also. But I started slow in Form 1. I think I started picking up in Form 2 because in Form 1, out of like 80 students, I used to be between 15 and 20 position, 15 and 20. And then once I got to Form 2 and then I realized this is the place I'm supposed to be. I'm not running away from it. So, because I knew I had the potential.
Yeah.
So I put in the hard work, and then from Form 2 is when I started picking up. But then now when we selected, the subjects that you like, the 8 subjects, I think in Form 3, that is when I realized that, okay, I think I can do this. I was, from Form 3, I was always among the top 3 students. So it was good. And I ended up, I scored a B+ in my KCSE, which I was the second best student in the school.
Wow.
Yeah.
So after you've left school, did you know what you wanted to do?
Yes. I wanted to do quantity survey, and that was my first choice.
Why?
Selecting subjects.
Why?
Because I don't know. I think I was obsessed with construction things.
Ah.
Yeah.
From where? Where did you see construction? That?
Whenever I got just interested. Whenever I see a building rising, I just wanted to know, especially, when they put in the names of the quantity surveyors, the architects.
Oh, yeah, on that cupboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So I was like, I think I want my name some day to be there.
Oh, okay.
So when I knew I didn't want to do architect because I didn't like drawing. So I thought maybe quantity survey because it involves a lot of calculations, bill of quantities. And then I said, okay, I want to be a quantity surveyor.
Then?
And I applied. It was actually my first choice. By then, there were only 2 universities offering quantity surveying courses. University of Nairobi and the Technical University of Kenya. So I knew I would not qualify for University of Nairobi because of my grades. So I tried Technical University of Kenya, but I also didn't qualify. So my second choice was chemistry, industrial chemistry. Because I had a feeling that if I don't qualify, what would my second choice be? But my dad wanted me to be a teacher. In fact, when I went to apply, he told me that make education your first choice. I didn't want to disagree with him. I told him, okay, I will do that.
Why did he want you to be a teacher?
Because, in the village, I think the most successful people are teachers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I find their life, well, not in a demeaning way, but I find their life boring. Because you're in the village, you probably teach a school nearby, and you build a house, you have your small farm, and I think their life rotates about the same thing. Because I was an untrained teacher after my Form 4, and I never liked their way of life, but I wanted to do something different.
Okay.
So I didn't want to do education, and I put it as my last option, just to to make my dad happy.
Was he going to see
but
it?
I'm glad I didn't get an admission.
Okay. So you
yeah, but Sorry.
The second choice was?
The second choice was industrial chemistry, which I got admitted to do it in Technical University of Kenya. Yeah, so that is how my life of being a started.
Did you know what it involved? Like, did you know about it before you applied? Did you know where you land?
I wouldn't say I knew a lot about it, but I did a little bit of research, and I knew it involved something about, industrial manufacturing, about the quality control things in the industries mostly. So I thought, okay, if I don't end up in construction industry, at least I should end up in manufacturing. So that is all I knew about it.
How did you know about it?
Well, I just searched it online.
Or you looked for, like, what were you looking for? I'm just curious. Like,
I was looking, I was looking for courses, to apply. And, by that time, you're just limited by what grade you have. You give up on the courses that require high grades. So you look at the options that, you can fit well with what you got in your KCSE.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the courses within that range, and especially I knew to get a good course. By then, these new universities were coming up, and they usually have lower grades, especially when they before it starts picking up. So I knew that would be the best catch. Go to an upcoming or a new university, apply for maybe a good course, and then just go with it. So I liked industrial chemistry by the fact, not because I knew a lot about it, but I just figured out maybe I could end up in one of the industries, maybe manufacturing industry, if I don't end up in construction. So that was the motivation behind it.
Okay, so when how was your...
And I had done well in chemistry, so...
you also liked it?
Yeah, I liked chemistry.
So
it wasn't the best subject, though. Yeah.
I loved chemistry, too. I did love chemistry. My sister loves chemistry. She ended up doing analytical chemistry. Like, that was a strong subject.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, so how's your university life like?
Well, I think you can relate. Being in Technical University of Kenya is not easy. Yeah.
We are both on N block, right?
We are both on N block, yeah. I think you're in, mostly second floor of N block. Maybe you might be in second and third floor.
Yes.
Yeah. So, like any other student, I went to Technical University of Kenya for my admission. So, as expectation would be, I went there expecting I'd get a hostel, everything, I went there. Got shocked, it was I was new in Nairobi. I was expecting to be allocated a hostel.
Oh my God.
I got there. There's a list of these private hostels. And I was told, you should have applied for hostel like
before
months ago.
Yeah.
And it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, that you'll get the hostel.
I'm like, so what is the option? So the option is to go to these private hostels. You look at the price, and you look at the help money you have, and you're like, wow. So the help money is not even enough to pay for the private hostels, because averagely you pay maybe 6,000-7,000 a month. I wasn't prepared for that.
Wait a minute. How did you get help? So for those who don't know, help is how do you describe it? A loaning?
Oh, the higher education loans board.
Yeah, for I don't know, for Who do they target though with the help money? It's loan.
Yeah, it's loan money.
For people who
usually
don't
when you get admitted, for the people who are not, so it's like when you get admitted to a public university, it's through by, I think now they changed the name, but then it was called Joint Admissions Board. So if you get admitted, and they have a cutoff, so if they have, I think by then it was 63 for boys, and I think 60 for girls. So if you get admitted and then you continue pursuing that route, you can apply. It's optional. You can apply to get the loan from the government.
Yeah, so that's the help that you're talking about. So you applied for it before?
Yes, I applied for it before. Okay. So by the time I was being admitted, I already had the money in my account.
Oh, so that's what you're using to plan your semester life, right?
Yes.
And here you're told that you're supposed to pay 6,000 or 7,000.
And I thought it was a lot of money because I think in my account I had 13,000 Kenya shillings. So I thought, okay, this is a lot of money because I hadn't received such money in my account before.
Do you even have have an account before?
No. Yeah. I didn't have an account before. Because that was my first time opening an account and, receiving money. I didn't even know how to use an ATM. Yeah, my ATM got swallowed several times before I knew how to use it.
What are you doing?
I don't know, there's a place the ATM has a chip, but I inserted the opposite way because I've never used an ATM card before. And then
I'm laughing because I can relate. I'm not being malicious.
Yeah.
So you put it the wrong way and it goes with it.
You put it the wrong way and it goes, and then you asked, the guard and said, oh, you have to go inside and ask them. But then maybe it's past 5 p.m. So you have to go the next day.
And do you have money to eat?
Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But and because especially when you're in Nairobi, you are told don't have liquid money with you, especially a lot of money. So you just withdraw small amounts so that in case by bad luck it's stolen, it's not that much.
Yeah. Okay.
So I found myself in this situation, and then I am told I'm supposed to pay 6,000 to 7,000 because there were a lot of private hostels that were advertising themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm like, the money I have can only pay for 2 months, and I don't have anything to eat. So I called my dad, told him about the situation, and he said, okay, I also wasn't expecting this. So what you're gonna do? Just give me a minute. There's a cousin of yours who lives in Nairobi. Let me call him and see if he will accept for you to go and stay with him. So after a few phone calls, I got connected to one of my cousins. He lived in Kawangware by then. And the whole of my first year in campus, I used to commute from Kawangware to Technical University of Kenya, back and forth. And,
those are two
traffic.
Buses?
No, it's one bus. One bus, yeah.
That must
so,
be
but
crazy.
the traffic is crazy. Sometimes you have very early morning classes. It was very challenging. And with the environment in Kawangware, if you have homeworks, you have to finish them in school because it's really difficult to do homeworks there.
Why?
Because we used to live in a single room. It was, the Mabati houses in Kawangware. So there's a lot of noise. You can't even concentrate. People are playing loud music because if your neighbor is playing loud music, you just have to go by it because...
Like your neighbor's taste of music is now, you have to like... you have no
because
option.
there is a house on your left, on your right, at the back, and it's the iron sheet houses. So
that's worse.
It's worse. So you can't even concentrate.
Because it's like you're literally in someone else's house.
Yeah, you're literally in someone else's house.
Okay, so for the rest of your time in TUK, Technical University of Kenya, what did you do?
So after my first year, I thought this is not the kind of life I want to. So after the long holidays, I teamed up with my classmates, 3 other classmates, so we were 4. We rented a house in South B. We rented a single room house. So we used to live four men in one house, in a single room house. And that is how we survived for the next 2 years.
Why did you prefer there? Is it because of transport? Is it because of it's near to school?
For those who know Nairobi, Kawangware is on the eastern or the southern part. It's very far from the city center where the school is located. And South B is very close. We could walk every day to school. So you see, you save on the transport, and you live with your classmates. So that environment helps. Because if you have homework or anything you could discuss, and being in that environment where you have your peers, it's you have a lot of discussions. It's much more easier than being in an environment where the people you live with are not, they are not your peers. They are not in school.
Okay. So, okay. So
aside from that, you just want to feel that college vibe, college life. Yeah.
Okay. So what happens after you finish?
So, I stayed there for my second and my third year. And then the apartments that we were living in, they had to be renovated. So we had to move again in my 4th year. So we tried to look for apartments nearby, but it was difficult. So I had a friend of mine. He was my desk mate in high school. He was a student then in Nairobi University. So he didn't want to stay in, because he had a hostel, but he didn't want to stay in the hostel. So he told me, I have a hostel. You can pay me this much money, and then you can come stay in my hostel because I have an apartment outside. And
it's a common...
I ended up... It's very common actually.
Yeah.
So I ended up living in Nairobi University hostels. I was not a student there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I lived there with my another classmate of mine in my 4th year, because it was not very expensive, but because of affordability, if we lived, it was a little bit affordable. So the whole of my 4th year, I stayed in Nairobi University hostels, and it's it's very close. You can just walk to school.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's on the other side of town. So yes. How? Wait, I didn't think of this, but since you mentioned it, how did that, living in a hostel in a university? Yes, it's not a university, but in a big university. How did that? Did that impact you in any way?
yeah, you feel like you're not in a university first, because seeing how people are living a cheap life, relatively cheap life, in other universities. I even used to visit friends of mine who were in Kenyatta University, and just seeing how they live and how cheap their life is compared to
Technical
what you
university.
go through.
Yeah.
You feel like, one, you made the wrong choice coming to Technical University of Kenya, but that gave me a motivation, because I used to even to discuss it with my classmates, say, you know, we used to make a joke, the motto of Technical University of Kenya is training for the real world.
I never knew. 4 years, I didn't know.
I think educational training for the real world, something like that.
Okay.
So we used to make a joke and say, okay, this is actually the real training. This is the training for the real world.
Yeah.
Because if I'm used to living in the city life while I'm still a student, it will be much more easier for me to transition than someone who used to live in a hostel to transition, because already I'm used to, walking long distances to school. I'm used to renting apartments, so
dealing with outside people who are not in school.
Yes. So that gave me a motivation, a little motivation. And true to that, it was easy to transition after I graduated.